All right, everybody. Welcome back to tonight. It's The Secret with Vincent Davis, except for there's no Mr. Davis with us tonight. And there's no Deidre and there's no guest. So we're going to do The Secret with Darren Guay, I guess. I'm going to do the best that I can with the tools that I've got here. And I don't know, maybe just kind of do a recap of what we speak about from then to now. And if any of you guys have any sort of anything that you want to talk about or discuss with me, you could possibly even get a hold of Grace and maybe she could throw you on and we could discuss something and, maybe we could do something like that. So, get a hold of Grace in the chat if you've got some sort of comments or questions or anything like that along those lines. And we can get you on here and we can see what we can do with what we've got. So I think what I would like to talk to everybody about is what to do and what not to do when CPS comes to your house. I think that these are one of the things like defensively that we don't talk about enough and we don't hammer home these points enough. The first thing is this: don't let them in your house. They come and knock on that door, keep the door closed. The next thing is this: is call your attorney. You do not have to welcome them into your home. If the police are outside with them, kindly ask for a warrant. Don't treat them in an evil, sadistic way. Don't call them names. Don't create a bigger problem, because this is what I gather, and I am just as guilty as this. Is people, immediately get on the defense, as you should, because people are there to take your children. But you're not using your head. You're not thinking. You're not doing the right thing. But screaming and acting and flailing around, cussing and causing all of these things, that's not actually the right way to go about things. I mean, pretty much you should go by, that old saying, if whatever you learned in kindergarten is the tools that you take with you for your life. And certainly swearing at someone and cussing at them isn't the right thing to do. And it's not going to get you anywhere. Actually, what that can get you is if you are swearing and cussing and making intimidating actions towards the caseworker, that could actually be an indication for the cops to get themselves involved. And that's the last thing that you want either. So make sure when they come to your door, again, don't open it wide open, because once you open that threshold for them, they're allowed to enter themselves in. Talk to them through the door. Don't give them any sort of welcoming. Tell them to hold on. Wait a minute. If you have an attorney, contact one. I mean, even if you called Mr. Davis, just get a hold of an attorney, because you don't want them getting the first blood, if you will, in your case. You don't want them coming in and seeing. And, I know so many people say, well, I have nothing to hide. Well, let me tell you something. They will find something that you're hiding, even if you're not hiding it. It could be as minute as dirty dishes in the sink. It could be cat food on the floor. It could be whatever they've determined that day that they want to determine to keep your investigation going. So don't use the whole, I am a perfect parent, I can't believe that you're here, look at my house, it's clean, this, that, or the other, because their job is to come in and find flaws in your situation so that they can obtain that safety plan, or that they can push that safety plan onto you. So I can only reiterate so much. Don't let them in, and don't do anything without talking to your lawyer. That being said, let's talk about what the cops are there for. The cops are only there, in all honesty, for the fact to make sure everything goes in a civil manner. They can't, and again, I'm not a lawyer. This is more Mr. Davis' side, but it's to my understanding that they have no actual authority while they're there in the presence of the caseworkers, unless, like I said, unless you do something to interact with the caseworker, then they will have to step in and be involved, and now you've gotten yourself in trouble. So don't let the police officers being present there intimidate you. Do what you got to do and what you normally do. Make sure you keep your composure. Think through the steps that you hear on Mr. Davis's show and that we all talk about it. Stay cool, contact your lawyer, be polite, don't open the door. Right. So if they keep staying over and over and over, let us in, let us in, let us in. No, explain to them that you would like to see a warrant signed, because, you're protecting your illegal search and seizure rights. But the cops can't force themselves in. There's no reason for the cops to barge themselves in. So don't look at the police officers being there as a tool of intimidation, even though you're exactly right. That is what it is it's an intimidation situation. Now, if you open that door and you let them in, this is what's going to happen. They're going to start seeing things in your personal life, things that you weren't prepared for because you were just living life 10 minutes before that. But now you have caseworkers that have come into your house. If they see any sort of magazines that are inappropriate, or maybe you had beers with some buddies last night and there's a couple beer cans on the counter still that you hadn't gotten taken care of yet. Maybe food was sitting on the stove from lunchtime because you were busy, because we all know life happens, and there's no denying that. However, for CPS, it doesn't seem like they understand that life exists for people, and so they take those things that you think are minute, and they now turn them into the thing that they call the safety plan, right? So now they sit there, they look around, they discover that there are issues at hand that they think that they have recognized. Now remember, these caseworkers have gone to college for this stuff, all right? They go to classes for some of them for investigatory things, psychological evaluation type tasks, things that involve manipulation training. So they know what they're doing. Don't think for a moment that these caseworkers are stupid and that they aren't doing certain things for certain reasons, because chances are that they are certainly doing them for certain reasons, but you may not know what they are. Just like Mr. Davis always talks about, is the strategy. Well, these caseworkers have a strategy too. So don't think that they're just sitting there and, planning on nothing or trying to conjugate some sort of malicious story towards you. Because in a lot of cases, that is what's going on. And in a lot of cases too, don't forget that someone has contacted them. These visits by them don't come typically unwarranted. I mean, of course, you have my boyfriend's mad at me, or my girlfriend's mad at me, or my mother-in-law doesn't like me, and all of this, and all of these people calling CPS. And there's two reasons that you shouldn't do that. One, the obvious. That is ridiculous to call CPS on someone just because you don't like the person or you don't like your wives, anybody in the family. That's the stupidest thing to affect a family. I mean, because you've just made a permanent situation even worse than it was before. So not only are you stuck with that person that you disliked in the family, but now you are going to create more of an animosity and more of a problem with them. So it makes no sense to solve a problem by calling CPS. Not only that, but now you've instituted an investigation on someone that doesn't need to be investigated. And let's be perfectly clear here, we're not all 100% perfect. We get tired, like we don't make our beds every day, even though we should. We don't clean up all the messes all the time when we should. Maybe your parents have, come over and they had left their pill bottles out, and, like things like that. And they'll say, oh, well, now it's not safe because the pill bottles are left out. All of these things. So these are things that you need to prepare yourself for. But when they come at a spontaneous juncture, you're not guaranteed that those everyday life things that don't seem like a problem to you aren't going to be discovered by a caseworker and it'd be enough for them to write down. So that's first and foremost reason. And secondly, I'll say this is, listen, we don't need to promote this services any more than it has to. So using it as a tool to get back at someone or whatever, what we're doing is we're increasing the volume of the calls for these social workers. Therefore, it's doing what? It's pretty simple. Now we are making more work for these social workers. Now, the more work we create for social workers means what? It means that they will now add more. That they're going to add more employees to the DHS system. So equivocally, what you're doing is, even though you're trying to call DHS and do it on a person, now you've actually helped the system because you've increased the amount of calls that have come in. And now you've actually promoted the need for more social workers. So this is just one of those things that you didn't realize you were doing, but it is one of those things. So again, that is, like Mr. Davis says, that's first, don't answer the door. Don't do anything like that when they come knocking. You go, you get on the phone, you call your attorney, right? You ask them to come back or to speak to your attorney only. And then it moves forward. And then they've said that they have come in the house. They found these things. Then we've gotten to the safety plan. Now, the safety plan is a contract that they draw up for you for things that they have found in your home that says that we believe that there's some sort of something. We believe that there's some kind of situation at hand here that we've discovered, and we are going to go ahead and come up with these few items, and we're going to go ahead and contract you for the next 30 days. And people, this is exactly what they're doing with you. You just went from having no problems, quorums with any person in this world, but DHS just came inside and they're going to have you sign this contract that now states that for the next 30 days, you're going to be under their microscope. And also, what this people do not realize is in this safety plan, it also in the fine print says that this now gives them jurisdiction to do what they will with the child. Now, I'm not sure if that's every state, but I know majority of them don't take those legal things as word from me, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Davis would agree with me on that one, as I do listen. But either way, you signing that safety plan is your way of authorizing them to become part of your life. Again, don't sign that plan until your lawyer sees these things, people. This right here is a major, major, major boo-boo when people think that they have nothing to hide. They think that they're perfect parents. They think all of this, and all of a sudden they put their name on that dotted line and it's off to the races. And that is when things get a little bit worse than they already were. And you didn't even realize this because you thought that you had nothing to hide. In that safety plan, it might say, hey, we're monitoring because we see that your kid's not going to school on time. Or, there's an abundance of reasons what they can come up with. And we all know this. They'll come up with whatever they have to come up with. Now, when they do that, now that gives them the entrance into your life for 30 days. And then what they'll tell you is after the 30 days is up, as long as it becomes unfounded, that they didn't find anything more, that we'll put it on the shelf and have a good day, guys. Thank you for winning this game. And ultimately, that's what you would hope for. But in most cases, that's not the case. The safety plan can be, it can be the guidelines that they go by. And it also tells you what you can and can't do. It also gives you stipulations about what they're doing. It now tells them that they're authorized to warrant drug searches from you or urine screens, which again, don't forget, urine screens are a no-go. We want urine tests. So if they're trying to use the urine screen on you, make sure if your attorney is not aware, as Double O tells us all the time, urine screens are not admissible in court, people. So make sure that if you have any sort of knowledge that you can pass off onto your attorney, it's that. Now, when we're doing all of these things, we have to realize that we are under the eye of these people, and you have to understand what CPS does in their investigations. They might have someone sitting down the street looking at your hold on one second, sorry here, Miss Natalia, if the cops took your kids with no warrant, I would suggest that you call that number 888-888-6582, because I would just be sure that Mr. Davis would definitely like to speak with you in that situation if you don't already have an attorney. I mean, that's as far as I'm concerned and I'm aware of. I didn't think that they could come in and take your child without any sort of paperwork being involved. I mean, unless your children possibly caused havoc with the police, which even then I don't know what availability and what jurisdiction and all of that stuff has. But I would say if any of you have a situation like that that seems a little bit iffy, I would definitely contact 888-888-6582. So back to the safety plan. This contract with them is the first point of their paperwork trail to start with their funding that everybody also speaks about. So they are very hard pressed and very, very devoted to getting you to sign that piece of paper for the safety plan. So just be very cautious, be very wary. I'm not giving legal advice, but what I'm saying is I would definitely check with your lawyer first before you sign any sort of paperwork that comes from CPS in your direction. Every time, be sure that you obtain copies of everything. So even if you didn't sign them, make sure that you get another copy. That way you have the original and you have something else that backs it up. That way we can't have a couple of things that are missed amongst the ways here. But like I said, certainly don't sign it until you've spoken to your attorney. And if you don't have an attorney, tell them that you don't have an attorney and tell them that they're going to have to come back at a later time. I mean, it's that simple, people. They aren't the iron fist, even though we've allowed them to become that. The discrepancies that we've allotted all of these government agencies have now become almost a fear tactic to us. All right. And these are these little tiny steps that we can do to start taking back the power as the people. I mean, I know I know that there's all kinds of people here that have all kinds of different views in this country about how law is supposed to work and how it's supposed to be, and it's this, if it's this or constitutional, or if it's. I understand all of that, and so does Mr. Davis, so does everybody that's on these shows. But what you guys don't understand is that things have been done that have legislated these statutes or something along those lines. Sorry, I just had a brain cramp there. But these laws have been put into place as laws. These statutes have been made into laws. That's why Mr. Davis has to push for the the state captains so that we can get some people involved. That way, everybody knows who's who in this upcoming election. It's not a big time election, but it's election enough to make an impact because there are so many of us. There are so many of us out here that have been affected by child protective services and their wrongdoings on our families that we should definitely be paying attention to this next election and the politics involved in it, because we can start voting in people that can make the change and voting at the laws. These team captains should be looking for, like what local laws. And for instance, I'm Maine, right? So what I've put together for the people in Maine is I've got a, you know what, we'll turn this on to a different section. I'm sorry, I just floated over. My bad. Let's go back to the safety plan thing. So in that safety plan, like I said, you've contracted yourself. You've given them the reason to become part of your life. Don't talk to them. Say nothing without your attorney present. Please. The more you babble on and the more you tell them how much of a great parent you are, the more ammunition that you are giving them for your attorney have to siphon through and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said this. Because you could take an innocent statement such as, oh, my kid was starving last night because we didn't get home till 7 o'clock from baseball practice. Well, you just told them that your kid was starving. Now that's going to go in the report. Okay. And it is that simple. It is that simple. And of course, you and the caseworker know it's out of context. But will the judge know that? Will you get the opportunity to even a relevant thing to the case between you and your child back? However, they were trained ears do, and they use these things against you. Again, I can't reiterate enough. Mr. Davis tells you all the time, don't speak to your caseworkers without your lawyer. Sorry. And after that, if you do sign the case plan and you are moving forward, I would say to make sure at this point, make sure that all your communications are via email. I know a lot of people say text messages and everything. No, make your communications by email. By email, because the text messages, something can go wrong. There could be a question about the time and date, so on and so forth. Emails, it doesn't get any more true than that. It tells you what time, it tells you when, it'll tell you who, it'll tell you everything that you need to keep notes of. So just make a little side folder at your Gmail account that says, lawyer, DHS, police department, foster family, whatever. Just put the whole bunch of lawyers there and have them stacked and put away. So that way, when you get these transmissions, you can send them right to that folder and you don't ever lose them. And then when your attorney is looking for certain communications and whatnot, you've already done a job for them, because you're like, oh, okay, Mr. Davis, here you go. You wanted this transmission between me and the caseworker. Boom. Ship that folder off to him and he's got something to go by. Oh, Tinkerbell became a YouTube member. All right, Tinkerbell. All right. I don't know what that means, but thanks, Tinkerbell, for showing up and becoming a YouTube member. That's awesome. So yeah, you get to get those in emails. And what I did was I actually picked another person to get my emails as well. So I would carbon copy my email not only to my attorney or whoever, but then I took a specific person and I would email them my transmissions too. That way someone else can be a witness to the fact that you were receiving these emails and that you acknowledge that you got them. And if they try to put them out in front of someone else and say it said this, this, and this, you've got a true to test statement against them. Uh, oh, Um, so that's the other thing, the other reason for all of that. I can't believe this background noise. I'm sorry about that. Um, so because you always want to make sure that you have copies of this stuff, because believe it or not, some people stretch the truth. Some people lie a little bit here and there, and they will do at nothing to make sure that uh, their case is solid for them to win, and so much for the parent. Um, when you get a safety plan, there's going to be recommended services for you. Now, it might be drug rehabilitation, it might be um, alcohol classes, it might be parenting classes, it might be any one of a slew of selections of courses and types of things that you need to uh, to get through what you need to get through. Can you shut that off, please? To get through what you need to get through to get your child back. Uh, when they do this, first of all, again, be sure that your attorney knows that you are that they are requesting these things of you. Be sure that uh, you haven't given them any sort of promises or anything about these courses. And then be sure that you yourself check out what is going on and why they're asking you for these things. Now, whether they're giving you the information, it always will behoove you to look yourself and see what you're talking about and what they're talking about. And it will help your attorney too. That way they're not wasting their time explaining why you need to go to X and X uh, a domestic abuse class, for instance. Like you could say, okay, Mr. Davis, I know I'm going to this course because I'm looking to strengthen my skills and my anger management and this, and this. Opposed to him having to waste time and explain it to you, you can explain to him what you've been doing, how you have come along in the system or the project or the classes or whatever they are, and he's able to use his brain for the legality of why you're doing what you're doing, opposed to trying to explain all of this stuff to you. Because you got to realize the time with an attorney is money. It really is, and no one gets it. That's why, people sit there and they'll undertalk, a court-appointed attorney, but these attorneys are still being paid. People, it's not like they're free. They're getting paid, whether it's by taxpayer dollars, whether it's by victims relief funds, whether it's by something. They get paid. So don't shortchange them like they're free attorneys and they're not going to work for you, because these people are paid and they are going to work for you. I'm going to go off on a little side rant here, because we talk about this all the time on Mr. Davis's show, is we talk about how people automatically assume just because they have a court-appointed attorney that they're not going to work for you and they're not going to be Johnny Cochran, as Mr. Davis would say. And no, you're right. It's not going to be. But what if it is? What if you got some young attorney that is just off the school tallies and he wants to come in and make a name for himself? What if, there's a whole bunch of what ifs. So that's not right. It's not proper to go ahead and just cut these guys off at the legs or at the hips, and saying they're not going to even work for me. Because can you imagine how you would work for you if, I just came in and I'm just like, you know what, you're just a court-appointed attorney. What do you know? These people still did the same amount of school that, every other attorney did. They still did the same whatever. They are all come from the same bushel, just some of them got better opportunities than others. So please don't give those court-appointed attorneys, don't give them heck, if you will, and give them the benefit of the doubt that they're there to work for you, not against you, because I'll bet you're going to find that there's much more production done when they see that you have faith and confidence in them. And then if that doesn't work out for you, then call 888-888-6582. Yes, Mike, or M. Young, they they still do get paid, and some of them, yes, are not up to par, but some of them, like I'm saying, I'm not saying that every one of them for this instance is that, but what I'm saying is that they're doing, some of them might be worth a heck, and you should definitely give them a minute before you start hanging them out to dry. That's all I'm saying. Now, after the safety plan's done and you're into these courses and all these classes and all of this stuff, um, they're going to come to a point after the 30 days that they're going to say, okay, we're either all set with you, or they're going to say, we need to continue on with this and move forward. All right. Now, your hopes are at the end of the safety plan that they'll turn away and they're going to leave your family and you made it out and got that big thing. You're like, okay, it's over with. Thank goodness I still got my child and all of this. Some places, it's not going to be so much. Some people might get done with that safety plan, and all of a sudden, here comes DHS to your door, and they're going to remove your child. God help me that doesn't happen to you. But if it does, again, stay cool. Do the best you can to keep your composure. Flipping out at those situations aren't going to help you with anything. They're not going to make anything any better by you running around trying to scream at them like you're some sort of lawyer from Boston, just got out of having ad, screaming all kinds of statutes and legal terms and all of this stuff that you just read out of a book and you don't even know how to explain to them. You can't do this, people. You cannot act out of control when they come and take your child. One, your child is present. So your child is seeing your actions. You are coming undone in front of your child, and that's giving them more ammunition to say, look at how they act in front of their children. Because these are all things in hindsight that we as good parents will say, oh God, I can't believe I act like that in front of Jimmy or Bobby or Doug or, whoever, Kathleen. I don't even know. But, we all do it as parents. Say, oh, man, I can't believe I acted like this at the baseball game tonight or the soccer game, especially in front of a CPS agent, because they will be using your actions against you. Mark my words. And just because you don't see them around, believe in me, they could be around. They could be in the audience. They could be in the crowd at the baseball game. They could be in the drugstore chasing you around. You don't know where and who these people are, and they're just monitoring away. I was nice, and during my case, I'd watch Vince Davis' show and was like, my attorney wasn't doing anything. I was nice, and during my case, I'd watch Vince Davis' show. I was like, my attorney wasn't doing anything. Right, so you were educating yourself more than your attorney. Right. Okay, and then so Mike says he had no strategy, and Mr. Davis talks about. Okay, these are things that if you see that your attorney isn't gunning at the same road for you, which is reunification, that they're taking every route off to the side, they're not doing the things that Mr. Davis is telling you, because what Mr. Davis has done is make you all aware of what the process is. All right, he's not saying go out on your own. He's not saying go out there and be pro se or pro per or whatever those, pro just whatever. Don't do it, but at least you are being educated so that you can go ahead and determine that your attorney that's paid for now is not doing what at least you feel or Mr. Davis has recommended that should be done for you. And it gives you something to address, and you don't sound like you're just a blumbering idiot, trying to, again, be an armchair lawyer. These guys know what law is. These guys studied the law. Listen to them and know the signs, like Mr. Davis and I have talked about a few times, the signs of when your lawyer is not working for the same thing or the same goal as you, what to do. And one of those things is you can put in a motion to have your attorney removed and get another one. And I believe that those are actions that need to be done through the courtroom. I don't know for sure exactly the process on that, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe that is something that has to be determined by the courts once the case has started and once things are on the roll. So you also want to make sure that if you do have the chance to monitor your attorney and you do see things that are going to be a little more difficult for you to get your attorney to attend to, maybe that would be the time for you to start seeking other attorneys and finding out the options that you have if you are with the public defender, and see what the options that you have are to get yourself out of that realm, or at least with that attorney. And you do have that right. You do have that right to question the attorney and to ask the court to be relieved of his services. But you need to have a strong sense of why. I mean, you can't just go in there and say, Your Honor, get rid of this guy. I don't want him around anymore just because I don't like the way he ties his shoes. I don't think that that's a way that they're going to float to you. Like, I just don't know. Again, I am not the attorney, so don't take my word for 100% fact. I know that I'm pretty close, and what I'm saying is fact, but I won't put a number on it. But I say more than 80%. I'm right about what I've been talking about here. So hopefully that make Mr. Davis proud while he's watching and doing whatever he's doing. So they take your child, okay? Then now we're into the whole nother fight for fights. And I know we've gone over this multiple times with Mr. Davis. You have the 72-hour hearing, you have adjudication. Up here, you have jeopardy. You have all of these different court cases, which, again, all these little tools that I've just told you about to help you along the way with being composed and everything with your caseworker are all tools that will be reflected of your actions, or your actions are reflective of the tools, one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? In these court hearings, because they're not going to say, Mr. Joe Blow reacted, through the roof. Oh, you were listening. You heard what we were saying. You heard what we were talking about when it came to be, don't raise your voice and don't scream and yell at them. Don't cuss at them. Don't do this. You heard that. Cool. So you're in a much better place than you are when you're following these little tiny little seemingly unimportant rules, but really can take you a long way in this case if you just implement them. Being kind, smiling, kind, courteous, helpful. Okay. I was trying to remember. I was a Boy Scout for the longest time, and I was trying to remember the Boy Scout creed, which is on my own, I'll do my best, do my duty for God, my country, to help other people to obey the Scout law, and to. Oh man, I can't believe I can't remember this right now. I'll do my best to do my duty to God and His country, to help other people and to obey the Scout law. I will keep myself mentally strong, morally straight, physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Yeah, something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, these tools will help so that they're not writing down all this nasty stuff about you in your report. So when you go to the next level, whatever it is, after your safety plan has fallen through, and I don't want to get into these next levels because we've done this before, and I think this is more or less where a real lawyer like Mr. Davis should be talking to you about, and not taking my advice or my observations, because I am not a legal person yet. I'm working towards it, but not meaning I'm legal like a citizen, but a legal person. I was saying like a lawyer, but I'm working towards that stuff. Okay, right there, I just lost it again. So these little tools, they do everything to keep you focused, keep you calm, and get yourself good stuff on the other side of the pen of the caseworker. Also, here's another good thing to have is a little notebook. Okay, a little notebook, which inside of that you notch down any sort of conversations that you've had, any sort of direct contact that you had that you can't get on an email, any sort of anything that you write down, you notice, you date it, you notice it, you put it in there, and you keep it in this notebook that all says for your eyes only, or don't let anybody else look at it. Because what can happen is you could be sitting in a courtroom and the caseworker just walks by, grabs your notebook without thinking that it was yours, and they just open it up, and here you go. They're reading through your secrets, and that's the last thing you want, is to give them a book of your own downfalls and stupidities and things. Taking a little notebook, setting everything up for organization, all of those things, it is all worth it, because you will be fresh when you get to your attorney and telling them the things that they need to know. Don't worry about reciting laws to your attorneys. Don't worry about trying to find case laws for your attorney. Don't worry about any of this stuff. What you need to do is just take care of you and the way that you respond to everything that's going on, because you don't need to make things more difficult for your attorney to clean up the mess up. You understand? So, following these little tips with not talking, paying attention to what's going on around you, not being rude, keeping cool, all of these things will make it so that your attorney, if it was Mr. Davis in this case, isn't sitting there going, well, Darren told me off when he came in today. He was very irritated, scratching his head, walking back and forth, which is signs of drug use. And he was cussing from the mouth, telling me that he had been drinking, and then so on and so forth. And when none of these things are even true, but you see the way that you acted gives them the right to assess you as they see you. And just because you didn't keep your cool, all of a sudden you can be listed at all of these things, even though it's the furthest thing from the truth. So that's where all of this comes into play. Now, Mr. Davis would love to pick up a paper from one of his clients that says, oh, Jared came in, he was very polite, although he seemed to be a little complacent because he was at odds with what he should do with his daughter in this room. So we explained with each other some things that we could do for the next hour upcoming, because he wasn't used to a visit being supervised in an office setting. All right, that's much easier for your attorney to read off and answer to than the other one with the false allegations. See, this is it. If they do tend to falsely allegate all the time, and we always talk about this, but how many of these false allegations have we as parents given these caseworkers access to? You see, our actions have given them, and it's compiled them to be able to make a judgment on you. So if we minimize the amount of interaction, we declare very clearly what your intentions are, which are call a lawyer and not letting them in, not signing a safety plan, keep the door closed, contact a lawyer. You're not going to be at the end of the safety plan 30 days wondering where your kid is at. Hopefully, you may be not even getting into the safety plan. It all comes back to those first few interactions and how you keep your composure. It's very important. It's so important that I just talked for 38 minutes about it, because it could change the way everything happens in your case. It really can. I mean, I unfortunately live in the guilt of this is my fault, and it's, I'm the one that lost my family, and I'm the one that caused all this, and I'm the one that's this. And it's a terrible, terrible feeling to live with, knowing that your daughter's gone, and in the eyes of so many, you're the reason why, uh, that that you have to live with every day, the second your eyes open. So don't give them that satisfaction of knowing that you were, out of control. So they got it. It's because when you look back, man, at the what if you could have and what you didn't have to or whatever, it's astonishing, and it's very opening. Like, why did I yell at her there? Why did I do this? Why did I do this? And there's nothing, like we talked about on our show earlier, Mike and I. We talked about we talked about a lot of things, but we talked about why it's important to clear your mind so that you don't lose it on these people. And it is so important, because you can't get back what's already been done. And believe me, man, when they write down on their piece of paper what's happened to you in your case and how you acted and everything, this thing ain't going away. It doesn't matter who you try to make forget about it. It doesn't matter who you, brought in with it to help you with this. It doesn't matter, because what they have is a solid copy of themselves right here that says that you did these things. And then you're in bigger trouble than you had to be. Also, it's another good thing to do is to have a sworn signed affidavit telling your side of the story when that CPS worker came into your house and searched your house. Tell the story the way that you had seen the story unfold and get it notarized. And just all you have to do is simply put it in that case file. And then your attorney will tell you what you need to do with it from there, or they'll take care of it, and it will just be distributed however it needs to be. But that's another good tool just to have to give your attorney. That way, your attorney has a truthful uh, document that states what what the events were in the eyes of you, and that is honorable and truthful. Uh, I mean, and that will hold its weight too with your attorney, because again, now your attorney's not trying to pry information from you and get stuff. You're like, here, attorney, and there's plenty of resources online to get how to operate an affidavit, how to work one, how to draw one up. There's all kinds of resources online. Mr. Davis has a catalog of videos that is tremendous. He gives away so much information. And you know how much it costs? So you have to give it to a guy that spends his time making videos to help all of you and the public that are in the same situation as me get themselves to the next level without spending an arm and a leg, or not spending an arm and a leg. I'm sorry, without spending an arm and a leg and not knowing what to be looking for. Because now you have guidelines, you know what's right and wrong. You have ample information out of the Davis arsenal to get your case and be able to monitor it from afar from your attorney, who is actually doing all of the in-ground paperwork and so on. But you have enough information to be like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, I was wondering about this thing, what about this paper or this paper, but so uh, it's all relevant, and it all is very important. uh, and to have that piece of paper telling your side of the story for your attorney or Mr. Davis to look at another time is great. It's really good, and it is helpful to them to have those things. So that's kind of where we're at here. If you have any questions, feel free to post them up. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Obviously, the question of where's Mr. Davis, I don't know. All I know is that I am here, and that's that one. And another one that I would think, just in case you ask it, I don't know. If you have, let's chill out here for another 2 or 3 minutes. If you got questions that you want brought up, I'll gladly read them and share with you whatever knowledge I have, or whatever knowledge I don't have, or an opinion, or whatever. So feel free to do such, and we can go ahead and have a little powwow chat. I don't know if any of you caught the CPS Men in Trenches show earlier today. It was 7 o'clock Eastern. That's my boy Mike Bartz and I's show. We've done 2 of them so far, and I think we're doing okay as far as 2 days goes. We talk about guys' situations and how guys feel and how they're overlooked. We seem sometimes how to I guess, and I'm sorry if this isn't manly, but I guess it's more like trying to figure out how love isn't eloping in the directions that we need it when we're in these situations. So that's what Men in the Trenches is about, is all of us as men coming together and having a heart for one another. So definitely you should check that show out. It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 o'clock Eastern time, which is, I believe, 4 o'clock on the West Coast. And then Mr. Davis, The Secret. Thank you, Truly Amazing, for watching. I remember that earlier. And be sure, to catch us here on Mr. Davis's show Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. And then Saturdays and Sundays, the show is, I don't know, 9 o'clock Western time or Pacific time, and 12 o'clock Eastern. I believe that goes for both days, Saturday and Sunday. Sometimes Mr. Davis is, there's my man right there, Mike Bartz. It sure is an awesome show. Truly Amazing is coming in behind him. It was a great show. It's really good. My man, Mike Bartz, I'll tell you what, he's a solid dude. I'm so glad that I met him on the Davis show. I'm so glad that we're doing a show together. because this guy has a lot in his heart, and he has a lot that he needs a lot of us to help him with, and he's got a lot that he's going to help a lot of others with. So, um, thanks, Mike, for everything, and thank you for doing what you do and being out here on this fight with all of us. Okay, let's see here. I have a question. So, say a family has their kids back and the case is closed. What can you do to keep DCS permanently out of your life forever? Well, I will tell you this. The first thing that comes to my mind is get out of that jurisdiction, right? You want to get away from that place as far as possible to never have that CPS get involved in your life again. Next, do some research, but I really don't honestly believe, or I've never heard of any sort of a permanent solution to keep DCYF or DCS out of your life. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't believe that there's any sort of a legal remedy that holds them away forever, especially where they are in so many different. Yeah, go to El Salvador. There's so many different. Committees and groups of CPS, whether it's government backed or private backed or whatever. I don't think that you can stop it. I really don't. And I think that since they're all government type groups and all individual bases and situations, I think, I'm sorry, I think that you're never actually out of the stretch of CPS's arms if you make a mistake. Um, I will ask Mr. Davis that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to be somewhat the answer, is that it does not ever happen, which is scary to be a parent and have your child taken from you and then getting them back. And then I couldn't even imagine once you got them back, having them taken from you again. I mean, that's just a cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, I say it all the time. Getting your child taken from you is like achieving the death penalty in a capital murder case. It really is. So is it really the death penalty? Love you too, Mike. Is it really worth the death? Is your incidents really resort in enough to persuade anybody to give you the death penalty? That's the way I ask things. That's the way I see things. That's the way I look at this whole thing. Because when you lose that child, man, it really does something to you. It takes a piece of your soul. It takes it takes more than a piece. It takes a lot of it, a real lot, and it's very difficult to swallow. So you need to have your own pity party, your own self-loathing, and all of this stuff for your short period of time. But then get right out of it. Get up, stand up, and get that child back. Get your lawyer. Uh, get your head in the game. Pay attention. Do what you need to do. Whatever your lawyer tells you got to do, do it. Do it. That way, they have no arguments. Like Mr. Davis always says, there's a strategy to every plan. And if he's implementing a strategy, he doesn't want to have you burning that up on him. So having them kidnapped has been horrible, and I'm a Christian, but man, I can't. My thoughts have been godly. Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm a Christian. I'm a godly man myself. And I'm not going to say that my head has been full of sinning like uh, sinning. I'm an ordained minister, and I have a lot of the same thoughts, I'm sure, Mr. Young. So you're not the only one, but we need to take those negative thoughts and we need to roll them into positive outcomes. So we're not going to get anywhere by being angry and uh, doing wrong things and hurtful things to others, because then when it comes time for God to judge us, he's going to judge us on not being very Christian by not doing the right things and by inflicting harm on others. So as much as I do agree with you on that comment, on the same hand, for all of us to get into the doors of heaven, we gotta figure some other way out than to the way that we're just speaking there. I know. I understand. Listen, I'm dealing with this every day. Like this is let me see. Let me show you here. I got one right. They're everywhere, of course. This is let me see right here. Sorry about that. There. Sorry about that. This right here. There's me and my daughter. That's the day before they came and got her. That's me and her out back. We were building a fence. We were building a fence, and they came and got her. And that fence still stands for them to for her to this day. I told her I wouldn't finish it when she left, and I won't. And you know what, Miss Natalia, I'll pray for you too. I'll pray very hard for your kids to come home, and you pray for my kids to come home. Uh, all of us can pray for all of this to help every one of us. Uh, but remember, keep those prayer thoughts to yourself. Don't scream them out loud, because when you scream them out loud, the demons can hear them and they will grab them. Uh, yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. So it's funny how, if you will talk about that for a second, people look at the Bible in two ways. One is a way that God is a peaceful and godly man, and he doesn't wish harm or anything on to anyone. However, if you do read, just like you were saying, in Exodus and so on, he does tell that the kidnappers uh, they will pay an unruly tax for themselves and everything. So he is. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Um, it's been a little over 2 years now, but you know what? We fight every day, and we're still trying. And I won't stop until my last breath to get her home. Uh, thank you very much. Thank you. Um, so, well, I I did the Mr. Davis show, The Secret. I let you in on my secrets. I appreciate whoever was here checking it out. I hope I filled the void. I'm sorry that everybody was disappointed that there was no Mr. Davis or anybody else tonight. But I hope that you enjoyed what little testimony I did here for you. And I hope you just, if someone's new to this or someone's not been through this, hopefully you will learn from what I had said and heed my warning. When these people come, they're not your friends. Don't try to make them be. Don't let them in your house. Call your attorney. Just keep them far away. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow night for The Secret. Same time, same place, but Mr. Davis will be here. Good night.